welcome to another video. My shelves look a little different. I decided to move my shrine to Miss Veronica down so that you all can see it because, yes, this video I am talking to you about the Veronica Speedwell Mysteries, a series that I highly, highly recommend. A Grave Robbery, the newest book in the series, has come out. Yeah, I just want to spend some time talking about the series, tell you why you should read it, pitch it to you a little bit, because this is a very special series to me and it deserves its own video. Without further ado, let's get into it. First things first though, hi, if you're new here, my name is Sarah and I go by A Bookish Beginning on every single social media app you could possibly think of. Why is that important right now? Because it was Miss Veronica that inspired me when I was naming my Bookstagram account way back in 2020. So let's talk about Veronica Speedwell. Basically, the way this video is going to work, the first portion is going to be me just giving you a rundown of what the premise of this series is. Not every single book. I'm going to kind of give you an idea of what to expect from the first book, and then just the vibes of the series as a whole. The second part of this video is going to be a vlog, me reading A Grave Robbery for the first time, and then the third part going to be my ranking of the series as well as my top moments. I haven't decided. I think it's going to be top 10 moments in the series as a whole, so that's going to be a little bit spoilery, or maybe you'll see those and be like, wait, that happens? I want to read it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first book is A Curious Beginning. What this book is about, this is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell Mysteries, and I have my notes here and I'm going to read it because I don't really want to like miss a beat. It's set in England in the late 1800s, and it's the series, the first book specifically, is following a young woman named Veronica Speedwell, and she is a lepidopterist. She studies butterflies. For lack of a better phrase, a lepidopterist is a butterfly hunter. At the start of this book, she is preparing to finally resume her studies. She is getting ready to go on her next adventure, resume her world travels with the occasional dalliance. One day she returns home and finds that her house has been absolutely trashed. And what basically happens is she ends up thwarting her own abduction with the help of a mysterious stranger. Specifically with the help of a strange German baron who she's never met before, but he seems to know her, which is a little odd. This man reveals that he has answers to her mysterious past. She's been raised by, I think, 2 women, so she doesn't know who her mom is, she doesn't know who her dad is. He promises to reveal what he knows of this plot against her because, like I said, she thwarted her own abduction. She seems to be in some kind of trouble, so he promises to reveal what he knows if he goes with her to London. So naturally, she agrees. Adventure, count me in. I want to know what the hell is going on. And what he does is he takes her to London and he offers her sanctuary with a friend of his named Stoker. He is a reclusive natural historian who looks kind of like a pirate. He's very roguish, very handsome, and these two immediately butt heads. They don't get along necessarily. They're clashing a little bit. And before the Baron can return and share what he knows, he turns up dead. So that's not great. And what happens is Veronica and Stoker are forced to team up, go on the run from this assailant, while also trying to get to the bottom of everything, figure out what happened, why he was killed, see if they can figure out how to trust each other. Maybe they're a better team than they thought they would be. Maybe this feels right. This partnership feels right. I don't know. Maybe. So basically there's banter, there's intrigue, there's twists and turns that you will not see coming. And there's even some time spent with a traveling circus. It's so fun. This book is everything to me. I mean, I've already told you once that this is where I got my username, A Bookish Beginning, A Curious Beginning. Obviously, very obvious how I stumbled upon that username. And what unfolds from this book is just this wonderful mystery series with Veronica and Stoker as partners through it all. I truly love their dynamic, and there is just the slowest burn romance that you will ever experience, because my lovely Miss Veronica, she does not do commitment, she does not do traditional relationships, and my boy Mr. Stoker is such a sentimental romantic. So it's just a great dynamic. Watching them like progress from where they first start when they meet to where they are now, it's just crazy. I mean, as with all series, but it's just like, oh my gosh, y'all have grown, y'all have changed so much, but at the same time, like your partnership is so solid, and I just love it so much. In short, I liken this to a a more mature version of Stalking Jack the Ripper. I enjoyed Stalking Jack the Ripper, but this gives me all of that and more, I feel like. I don't know, I prefer this series to Stalking Jack the Ripper, I'm sorry. If you're looking for something that isn't YA, that's a little bit more grown up, that kind of captures those vibes, I think this is the book to check out. Or I guess you could say, if you enjoyed Stalking Jack the Ripper, then you should check out this book. I just really love this series. It's truly underrated. Like, I am hard pressed to find any and all kinds of merch from this series. Some of my two prized possessions, because these are not sold on this shop anymore, are the Flickerwicks candles for Veronica and Stoker. They also smell really good, but I'm just like, I will never part with these ever. If I run out of candle wax, that is my sign I need to get into candle making so that I can try to make these again. This is another prized possession of mine because it's one of the few depictions of Veronica and Stoker that you will find. This is done by Whimsical Illustrations, I think is her handle on Instagram, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. Like, let's see if I can get in here without a glare. Look at how stunning these two are. It captures her in all of her glamorous glory, and it captures him in all of his roguish pirateness. That is basically what to expect when you start this series from the first book. I highly recommend checking it out. It is a severely underrated series, in my opinion. Go check out the series. Go check out the first book. But until you do, we are going to be moving into the vlog portion of this video where I read A Grave Robbery for the first time. I'm very excited, and I'm going to take you along for the journey. So, yeah, let's pivot. Did you hear that? I was going to work on some other projects. I think I still will work on some Veronica Speedwell related projects, but this weather with like the rain and the thunder, it feels like perfect weather to start reading Veronica Speedwell in, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to save that for tonight, and I'm going to work on my Veronica Speedwell projects, but this is crazy. What I'm doing is I'm tracing a design that I kind of threw together in Canva, and I'm tracing it onto this special paper that I got from Joann's, which I can iron it onto something, and then the pattern will be ironed onto whatever fabric I put it on. And basically what I'm doing is I am painting a denim jacket with this Veronica Speedwell pattern. It's not necessarily book related, but the jacket itself is, and the design is, so you know, it still counts. They're literally just holding hands, and I am losing my shit. enough for tonight. Oh, that's so dark. So I was gonna record this before I started reading, but I kind of forgot. So basically I wanted to start my reading process by just kind of saying what I want from the book. And I don't really have anything necessarily from the mystery that I am hoping for. I don't read the synopsis before going into a lot of books because I want to be as surprised as possible. So I can only really speak to like what I want from the characters in this book, and really just after all these two have been through, because I've said this is such a slow burn romance, and it really is. I mean, it's not until the fourth book that you get any kind of declaration of feelings, and even then it's like many books of just back and forth and conflict and turmoil and angst. And it wasn't until this most recent book, the eighth book, that you really feel like, okay, we've reached the point we need to be in. It's the end of that book. So now that we're going into the ninth book, the main thing I want from these characters is just, I don't want any conflict in their relationship anymore. And maybe that's too much to ask, because I know there needs to be conflict in a book. But I mean, I am perfectly fine with them having all kinds of different conflicts from the outside. But the one thing I want to be secure in through this entire book is their relationship, because I feel like they've earned that. They've earned to have just comfort. So I just want them to be happy. They can, have this mystery that they are solving. But I want them to be happy. And so far they are. And that makes me very happy. You see it. I lose my mind at the smallest bit of interaction between them. That is what I want, is I want them to just continue on with this, where they're just happy and in love together, while at the same time they're solving a mystery. The premise is their employer has brought in this wax figure that his daughter wants as a gift, and Stoker is supposed to kind of refurbish it to insert a mechanism into the wax figure to make it breathe. And so I'm sure you know what's going to happen, right? They're talking about how amazing this wax figure is, how lifelike. It's so realistic. I mean, if you've watched any kind of crime show, if you've watched Criminal Minds, you know what's going to happen. They're going to cut into this wax figure and find out that it's human. So that was the mystery. They have to figure out who this dead woman is. And there was just a revelation, which is where I left off. And I'm like, oh shit, that's dark. So I'm enjoying it so far. I knew I would. She forbids him to die. I forbid either of them to die. They are immortal. This is going to become a historical fantasy series, and they are going to discover immortality. They have no business being as cute as they are. Okay, what I wanted to do, because I'm about 60% into it now, and so I kind of want to word vomit my theories. I don't think Ambrose is the killer. He's tied up into this somehow. If he's not the killer, maybe he knows who is. The other suspicious thing is that I think Julius might not be dead. That is my theory, because they said he died in a house fire, or like in a laboratory fire. No body, no crime. Since Eliza was so weird, like in her reaction to seeing the man who was watching her at the little like event, I think that could have been her brother, and that maybe Ambrose has been harboring the brother, or Ambrose knows the brother is alive. That's my main theory as of right now. Like, I obviously don't have any idea as to like who the beauty was, and I love the new guy. They always bring in a new supporting character that you just love, but I love, I don't remember his name, but the new guy who's living at the estate, he's fun. End of the chapter. Okay, we must keep going because it seems like we have a situation going on. Can't just end a chapter like that. When am I supposed to go to sleep? Who died? I don't know. I feel like if I don't stop now, I'm just gonna keep reading. Clocks are about to change. I've already read later than I planned to, but I'm 70% in, getting close to the end, so I'm stopping before it becomes too dangerous. Final stretch. No, I didn't like it. Fuck. You're right. That's what he wants to do. He wants to hear you. You're right. Oh, I was wrong. I was close. Okay, so I have to film today. Also, my sister's room right now. But I am also trying to finish painting this jacket. Do I think it's gonna happen? No, but I'm gonna try. So basically, I'm gonna start my work day off today by painting on the first layer of white for a lot of this. There's still detail on the front that needs to be painted. And there's also patches I thought about putting on. Oh my gosh, why did I do this to myself? Look at how pretty that blue is. Oh my gosh, obsessed. Here's the progress. Ooh. I am obsessed. Oh, it's so cool. Not to like pat my own back or anything. I'm currently wondering what I was thinking by drawing so many speedwells on the front of this jacket. I'm never gonna finish. Before we switch over to the third and final part of this video, I want to actually show you the finished product of the jacket because one, I never really filmed the completion of it. Two, I didn't even film sewing on the patches, all 12 of them. So I'm gonna show you what it looks like because it turned out really cool. I have it right here. So let's just do a breakdown. You have the blue butterfly with the Excelsior because she says Excelsior a lot in the books. It's based on something that a favorite book character of hers says, but she says Excelsior a lot. So I have Excelsior there, a bunch of like pink and purpley flowers, random flowers going up the sides. This is like my best interpretation of a Speedwell, which is like what she's named after because her name's Veronica Speedwell and Speedwells are also called Veronicas. So that's my best interpretation of it. It's not photorealistic because who cares about that? Artistic license is great. These are actually inspired by American Speedwells. We have all these butterflies on the back, and then we have more Speedwells on the front and more butterflies on the front, and I really like how it turned out. And so forgive the denim on denim moment for a second because I'm going to show you what it looks like on. Oh my god, we love a denim on denim. Okay, but this is what it looks like on. I've gotten so many compliments. I've been wearing it so often. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. It turned out even better than I thought it would have. Oh, look at that. There's a dog foot. Oh, we have the microphone going and we're ready for the final part of my Veronica Speedwell video. You see a dog foot. My dog insisted on coming inside and we'll see how that works. I have now finished A Grave Robbery. Overall, like in terms of guessing the mystery, I was like sort of right, sort of not, which, you know, you win some, you lose some. But now we're going to be going into my ranking. So right now I have written on a whiteboard that I need to grab my ranking of the series before reading this book. So I'll show that to you and then we will figure out where the newest book falls in my ranking. So let's see if I can grab this without disturbing this poor dog. Okay, let's see. Sir? Oh. Okay. We have a special guest. This is fine. We'll make it work. What was I saying? Oh, I remember. We're ranking Veronica Speedwell. This is my ranking as it stands before reading A Grave Robbery. So we're gonna go through it from 8 to 1. As you can see, maybe. No, you can't because my dog's blocking it. I have 9. 9 is TBD because this is all gonna get shifted around once I put in A Grave Robbery. At number 8, I have A Treacherous Curse, which is the third book, I believe. And I think the only reason it is at number 8 is because I just don't remember it enough. I think like every other book on this list, there is something that really sticks out to me, either between the dynamic between Veronica and Stoker or in the mystery itself. And I do not remember much. I remember a specific character who I believe shows up in this book, but other than that, this is one that most needs the reread, which is why it's at number 8. Number 7, An Impossible Imposter. This is book 7, so book 7 at number 7, kind of fitting. This one was entertaining, and obviously any book after Veronica and Stoker finally get together gets points from me. But I do remember a lot of the time throughout this book just being mad that Veronica would not tell Stoker what she needed to tell him, which is why this is at number 7. Number 6, An Unexpected Peril. You can see here there's a little bracket connecting 5 and 6, and that's because I feel like these two are interchangeable in placement for me. This is very much a close tie. So number 6 is An Unexpected Peril, which is book 6. Wow. Look at that. I really enjoyed like the concept behind this one and the whole idea of her posing as a princess. 5. This is book 2, A Perilous Undertaking. And honestly, I just remember enjoying the mystery, enjoying the action. It's just kind of entertaining. I really like second books because it really unlocks a lot of potential for a series. Number 4 is A Murderous Relation. This is book 5. This one still has a lot of the like will they, won't they tension of book 6 a little bit. But this is like the big transition of their relationship, which is very entertaining. But the reason I feel like this is so high in my ranking is because there's one specific scene, and when we get to my top 10 favorite moments or favorite things about the series, there's one specific scene that is like 2 pages that is just lives rent-free in my head because it is just amazing. Coming in at number 3, we have A Curious Beginning, which is the first book in the series and the only one that I've reread so far. I mean, honestly, it's just iconic. First book in the series, first meeting with Veronica and Stoker. There's so much in there. There's just so much good stuff that I just love so much. So I feel like this book is always going to be in my top 5 just because it's the book that started my love of the series, obviously, because it's the first book. And this is like one of the few books where I remember exactly where I was when I bought it. I remember exactly when I bought it just because it's that important. Number 2 is Sinister Revenge. Now that is the most recent book before A Grave Robbery. What I love most about this one is it captures all of the vibes I get from the book that is in the number 1 spot. But there's just so much I loved about it. I really like the mystery. I remember really enjoying the mystery. But really, it's just like Veronica being put in a position of where she has to grovel and where she has to, you know, show her love of Stoker, which I really love because it's always Stoker, the one who's doing the declarations, and he has some good declarations, and we'll get into that later. But I like seeing Veronica being put in that position because it isn't who she normally is, and so I like seeing her tap into that side of herself because the only person she would do that for is Stoker. And I just had the same feelings reading it that I did reading the first book. So number 1, and I don't know if this is ever going to be dethroned, that is A Dangerous Collaboration. And this is really when their relationship shifts. I love the whole setting of it. I love the element that Stoker's brother brings to the story, and there is just so much good stuff between Veronica and Stoker in this book. I am just obsessed with it. Anytime I get someone to read the series, I'm like, I cannot wait for you to get to book 4. Utterly adore this book. I feel like it's always going to be number 1 for me. But we'll see. So obviously that's a bit of a spoiler in that A Grave Robbery I don't think dethrones A Dangerous Collaboration. Now, where does it go is the question. And that's something that I've been wrestling with for the last, I don't know, however many hours since it's been since I finished. I am a romance reader girly. I love the romantic moments. So, you know, the more romantic moments there are in a book, the higher ranked it's going to be. When I was finishing the book last night, I'm like, okay, there is a certain aspect of this that will determine its placement, and that is how the mystery played out, because when I was reading it, there's a certain character, he was telling the story, recounting the story that you had heard a version of already in the book. And even as I was reading it, I was like, I don't know how much I believe what he is saying. But at the same time, the more that develops, the later on you get when they set the trap for this character that they believe is the villain, there are still some things that get revealed that allowed even more twists or nuance to be put on the story that they had heard from this character. So that really raised it up in how I felt about the mystery, as opposed to if it had just been like, oh yeah, this guy was telling them the whole truth. So I appreciated that, which helps me figure out where I want to put it, because this book is also filled with so many good Veronica and Stoker moments. And the fact that they don't really have any big conflicts within their relationship itself. Like, their relationship remains very strong throughout the entire book, right? All of this leads me to decide, I think I want to place it at number 2. just because, oh, there are so many good Veronica and Stoker moments. You meet a new character who's a lot of fun, who I hope shows up in future books should this series continue. I'm just saying the series is continuing. I haven't seen anything that said this is the last book in the series, so until I'm told otherwise, this is not the last book in the series. I feel solid about placing it at number 2 for right now, but like bear in mind, 2, 3, and 4, what it's going to be 2, 3, and 4 now, are going to be it's a very tight race between the 3. All this hullabaloo because I bought a whiteboard for another video and I wanted to use it for as much stuff as possible. I know. I'm sorry for how bad my handwriting is becoming. I blame him. Wow, that is terrible. You know, people say I have good handwriting. This is not a very good showing of it. Grave Robbery. How do we feel about this ranking if you have read the series? We're rounding out this video by talking about my top 10 favorite things / moments from this series. I'm going to try to keep a lot of these as vague as possible. Some of them I might go into a little bit more than others, and some of them I might even reference the book just to kind of elaborate on a little bit better. Starting with number 10. Number 10 I put as Veronica's plan in A Grave Robbery, which obviously I'm not going to tell you what her plan was, but I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was like interesting, like just reading it because you're reading it entirely from her perspective. So you see or don't see whatever she sees and doesn't see. I feel like 8 and 9 are tied and they go hand in hand. So I'm going to talk about them together. So 8 and 9 are just Veronica and Stoker as individual characters. They both have such interesting backstories and interesting traits. I love how much of a romantic Stoker is. And then at the same time, there's some really good like twists to Veronica's backstory while also having her be this fiercely independent character who has just some wonderful character development. And obviously I talked about Stoker. He has a really interesting backstory, and he's honestly, like, because the series is underrated, at the same time, he becomes such an underrated book boyfriend. But I truly believe if Bookstagram, Book Talk got their hands on him, they would be just obsessed because this man has so many good romantic declarations, so much good stuff, and at the same time, he's hot. No, he's amazing. I love him so much. I'm obsessed with him. Number 7. This is kind of all-encompassing about the series, but something you will come to find is essential is like in each book, Veronica has some absolute banger one-liners regarding men, and I just love them every single time. I think I need to tell you exactly what I mean by that. So let's see if I can find it. The first mention of Stoker's name, I put a box around and hearts. Okay. So one of these lines, which is one of the earliest in the book, is she says to Stoker, "I have faith that men can be as reasonable and logical as women if they but try," which is just such an amazing line. Okay, anyway, that is just a small example of her one-liners, and she always has them, and they're always amazing, and I just love them. My battery's gonna die. I need to hurry. Ah! Okay, 6 is just, I mean, it's in this book as well, just Veronica and Stoker meeting for the first time, and honestly, just so much about their relationship in this first book, especially when you reread it, you're like, wow, you guys have no idea what you are in for. Just the bond they have on like such a deep level, but also just like, y'all don't like each other that much at the beginning, and it's so funny just to see how that changes, how that develops. Okay, next. This is a specific moment from this book. See, yeah. Specific moment from this book lives rent-free in the head. I didn't really remember it from the first time I read it, but when I reread this, when I was going on Checked Out and Overdue's podcast, I noticed it. And now the question is if I can find it. I know I put it on my Instagram story. Okay, I cannot remember where the other half of this moment or parallel or whatever you have it is, so I'm just going to find it from my Instagram story archives. But when they are speaking with Lady Rose, who is one of Lord Roseman's children, she points out how Veronica has very strange colored eyes. Something I didn't mention. Her eyes are purple, in color, basically, essentially, which is also very unique, and I love it. Lady Rose goes, her eyes are peculiar. I've never seen eyes that color. What color is that? It is the precise color of the wing frills on a white-browed purple tuft from South America, he replied with such unthinking swiftness that I gave him a searching look. Veronica says she's basically not familiar with that bird, and he says, it was something I happened to notice, nothing more. Not only do I just love that he knew, and he had this answer locked in. He did not have to think about it. He knew the exact species with a color on its wing that matched the color of her eyes. Really? And just what made it so much better is that, I don't know if it's earlier in this book or later in this book, Veronica mentions that his eyes are the color of a specific kind of butterfly. And she kind of has this, you know, color locked and loaded and ready to go. Stoker is a natural historian, so he is more well-versed, or natural historian, and he's a taxidermist, so he's more well-versed in all kinds of different animals and stuff like that, and where she's a lepidopterist, which, you know, her specialization is in butterflies, and so that she used a specific species of butterfly, and he used just a specific animal, or other bird to classify what the other's eye color was. It's just, I feel like, the definition of soulmatism. Like, they are soulmates on such a deep level, and I just love, it's such a simple moment, but it's like, there's so much romantic potential and subtext in those simple moments that I just love going back and rereading and experiencing it again. Okay, number 4. This is a very small moment, and I have gone back and forth on how much detail I want to give. This is how you know this series has been with me for a while, because my tabbing style has evolved so much more. Like, it's become so different. I found it. I feel like everyone should experience the brilliance of this specific scene when they read it, just with fresh eyes, not expecting it. So what I will say is that this book takes place at the same time a certain serial killer was also active. If you look at the time period, you know your history, you'll know who I'm talking about. And while the book itself does not focus on that specific figure, there is a scene that is, I swear, no more than half a page that this killer's presence is felt within that scene. And why is this so significant to me that it is in my top 5 moments from the series? That's because, one, it was such a chilling half page where you're just like, oh my god. And the other thing too, it's just made so special because it's never explicitly stated, I don't think, who this is supposed to be. Like, this could just be a creepy guy on a street corner. So it's just like, if you know what she's talking about, if you know what the character's experiencing, you're like, oh shit. And I think it's written so well that you just feel the chilling moment in just half a page. So it's just an amazing moment, and I would just read the whole passage if I didn't want everyone to read the series and experience it on their own, just because I think it's just such a well-written moment for being a little over half a page. Okay, 3. Now, I want to narrow this down to like one specific thing, but really, it's all encompassing, like Veronica and Stoker in the entirety of the most recent book, A Grave Robbery. Like I said in my vlog, I really just wanted them to be happy in their relationship, and that's what I got. If I could, I would narrow it down to one scene. I think the scene I would narrow it down to would be when they're kind of talking about how they wouldn't want to live without each other. Just like knowing who Veronica is, it shows how much she's changed, where she's reached the point where she is comfortable letting another person have that much of an impact on her life. But yeah, it's just everything about them in this book was just amazing. The romance reader in me loves to be fed well with plenty of romantic moments, and that's what this book gave me. Number 2 is her romantic declaration for him in A Sinister Revenge. I told you she's got to grovel a bit. I won't tell you why, but Miss Veronica is not necessarily one very experienced in making romantic declarations that often. And that's kind of like when she does make it, you know it's like more meaningful that way. She has this moment and she tells him, she's like, you were right to be upset about what you were upset about. And so she's like, it's my turn to woo you. And I will share the quote though. I have shielded myself from true friendships from you. Always I have held something back so that I could never again be so hurt from my own mistakes. But no more, Stoker. I loved you when the world was new. I love you now, and I will love you until the earth is burnt away and the stars themselves turn to dust. For we are two souls with but a single thought, two hearts that beat as one. And it's like her reciting to like his favorite poet to him. She says, my beloved, I would burn the earth to cinders and blow the ashes to the four winds just to be near you. And I won't tell you what she says after that, because it's a little saucy. 2 honorable mentions. Because if I could, I would make my top 10 moments from this book. Y'all know it's my favorite. I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but I make no promises. So basically what happens post the reveal of who the villain in this book is, there's a bit of a crisis involving stranding in the middle of the ocean. Characters have to save each other before potential drownings. That's about as vague as I could go with it. And something to know about Miss Veronica is on her adventures, she has essentials that she takes with her. One of them is a little velvet mouse, I believe. I can't remember what the mouse's name is off the top of my head. But in this most recent state of peril, mouse gets a little drowned, a little waterlogged, a little bit wrecked. When she wakes up after, being saved, she finds that the lovely Mr. Stoker has mended the mouse. And it's just so cute because I think that's like maybe one of the moments where she kind of fully realizes like how she feels about Stoker, how much Stoker means to her. And he's just so nonchalant about it because he says to her when she goes and finds him, you were clutching him when they hauled you aboard. One of his ears was nearly off and the eyes were gone, but I still know my way around a needle. It was just such a simple moment, but it was so cute. Next honorable mention is basically what happens is she wakes up, she sees her mouse has been fixed. Like immediately the first thing she wants to do is go find him. And she asks him, do you regret what you said? He says, no, I regret that you heard it. And then she asks him, did you not mean it? And he says, Veronica Speedwell, I meant it then and I mean it now and I shall mean it with every breath until my last. And you obviously know what he's going to say next, but before we talk about that, we're going to talk about the number 1 moment because it is the best declaration of love in any book I have ever read. I think about it every single day, and it is my lock screen, this quote, and I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. So, basically, what is happening here is they are in peril. They are, out in the middle of the ocean. The tide is rising, I believe, on this little inlet of land. Oh, these are so many spoilers, but it's essential. It's essential to what I'm about to tell you. Basically, they're stranded on this little island, this barren island that can barely be called an island, and the tide is rising and it's about to cover this island and it's gonna drown them, basically. Stoker, Veronica, and Stoker's brother Tiberius are stuck there together. And Stoker and his brother don't really get along very much. And in this moment, they are fighting. And so Tiberius says, you risk nothing, and so you are nothing. You love her, and yet you have never told her, have you? Well, I'm glad of it. She deserves better than you bloody fool. She deserves a man who would kill for her. Oh, this is so good. Stoker's smile was slow and terrible. You think that is love, brother? That I should kill for her? He shook his head, his eyes locked with mine. You are the fool, Tiberius, because you still do not understand. I do not love her enough to kill for her. He stepped to the edge of the rock. I love her enough to die for her. And basically what ensues is he dives off the rock and goes and makes this near impossible swim to go and get help for them. Oh, it's so good. The line of, I do not love her enough to kill for her, I love her enough to die for her, is just iconic to me. And I just love it so much. So that is obviously my favorite moment from the entire series. It's will forever be, I think, one of my favorite love declarations of all time. As much as I love, the cozy romantic moments that you get in A Grave Robbery, what I love even more is just the turning point where you're like, finally, you guys are saying it, what you haven't been saying for the last 4 books, Okay, so those are my top 10 moments from the Veronica Speedwell Mysteries. I feel like this was kind of chaotic, just a bit. That's fine. That's fun. That's a good time. I hope you enjoyed this video, you know, kind of breaking down the series or breaking down the premise of the series, and a little bit of a vlog as well as just a whole recap of my ranking and my favorite moments. If you'd like to see me do this with more of my favorite series, let me know. And for now, I mean, that's all for now, I think. If nothing else, go read this series. If you love Stalking Jack the Ripper, I think you will love this series because it really is just maybe a little bit more grown-up version of that. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video, which is going to be a super late February wrap-up. I'm sorry. I'm behind. I'm sorry.